everyone. I'm Jennifer Lont. I'm a Homeworks by Precept consultant, and today I am here to talk to you about how to teach math to your advanced student. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I did with my own boys, and then I've also been talking to our video course teachers, and they've given me some suggestions that I'm going to be using this next school year with our own kids. So hopefully that can be helpful to you too. First of all, as with any of our subjects, BJU Press Homeschool materials teach critical thinking. Now, if you are like I am, you grew up being taught step 1, step 2, step 3, this is how you get your answer and you're done. But it is not like that with BJU Press Math. BJU Press Homeschool teaches your kids to understand why the math works, not just how to get an answer. Because math isn't just for getting answers on a worksheet. Math is for real life and solving problems. So your child needs to have an understanding of how the math works so that he can decide what he needs to pull out of the toolbox to solve real world problems. So when you run into some lessons that maybe show different approaches to solving the same kind of problem, let's say for multiplication, one day the text may focus on sets. Another day it may focus on making a grid, an array. When you see different ways of solving the same kind of problem, don't roll your eyes and skip over that and say, we already know how to do that. You really do want to walk through lesson by lesson using this teacher's edition because it's going to help you as you teach your child to think critically and to understand what is happening in math. We did math parent-led throughout elementary school, and one of the ways that I adjusted the curriculum was to cut out a lot of review. I am not against review. In fact, I support review because it is necessary to help kids learn and practice those patterns and habits and skills until they become permanent. But my kids' test scores were high. My kids were showing me time and again that when we went back to the older concepts that they had no problems remembering them. So I did cut out the review book. I cut out those review pages. Some of the workbooks have pages in between the regular work text lesson. We didn't do those. But we did do the cumulative review at the end of each chapter just to make sure that they were brushing off those skills, remembering how to do them. In junior high, at the end of each lesson, there are some review problems at the end of each homework assignment. And my junior higher found that those were helpful for him starting in junior high. We spent a lot of time reviewing math facts in elementary school. Your teacher's edition will tell you which facts to introduce and when to introduce them. And we did spend a lot of time on them. Our goal is to have kids understand the math, but they also need to have those facts at the tip of their tongues. Just like in reading, you need phonics in order to read, but the goal is comprehension. Same for math. You need to have those math facts ready, or if you don't, your kid will be focused on the facts and they won't be able to understand the concepts that they are working on. So as I taught my first son, I noticed that he would be just a little bit slow with answering whenever we did flashcards. And I remembered back to my own school experience and teaching experience. And in a classroom, kids can compete with each other. They just naturally do. And that pushes them to get faster. And so I knew that he was capable of going faster, but he's a homeschooled kid, so he didn't go very fast. So I decided to make up a little game and something that would push him to go a little faster. Now I have to say, he did not enjoy this game at first. Later on he loved it, and it was a challenge and it was fun for him, but he did not enjoy it at first. But I don't base my decisions of what I do in school based on whether my child likes it. I base them on what is good for my child, and I knew that learning these math facts quickly was good for him. So rather than just holding up a flashcard and waiting till he got it, I decided to do it like Tetris. Do you remember that old game where the different bricks would drop? And so I would just hold up a flashcard and he would have a few seconds, as long as it took, to get down to the table in order to give me an answer. So if he got it right, it would go in his pile on the desk. And then if he either got it wrong or he couldn't do it quickly enough, then it would go in a second pile. That way, I would know which facts he had well and he knew quickly, and I knew which facts he needed to study a little bit more. I also like to have a lot of fun with my boys, and so I would look for games or apps or activities on Pinterest that would make things motivating for them, make things fun. And then I would pull out the flashcards sometimes too, and we would do things different ways. There are worksheets that have the math facts on them that you can use as well for practice. So we just did a variety of things. Sometimes they were more disciplined activities, and sometimes they were more fun, playful activities. So I combined a couple ideas I found on Pinterest to make this. It was earning your multiplication black belt. And so there was one mom who showed how she made timed tests that looked like this, and another mom who had these cards where you would earn a different color karate belt based on which list you mastered. So for a white belt, you'd master your 0 facts and 1 facts. For the if you mastered your 2s and your 3s, you earned your yellow belt. If you mastered your 4s and 5s, you earned your orange belt. And then you would just keep going till you get to the 12s, and that would be your black belt. And at that point, we didn't use colored paper because you wouldn't be able to see on the black paper, but the motivation was there. The fun element was there. Now, if you notice, this idea that this mom had was to make these lists with just the first factor, just all the 4s. It didn't have the second factor or the answer. Now that was important because if you give your child the same test a couple days in a row, if they really do well, you might find that they just are spitting out answers they've memorized, not even knowing the facts. They'll just memorize what comes next, like 6, 30, 30, 18, 24. They might just have memorized the test. So having them blank is a good way to check and make sure that they know their facts, not just memorized that test. So I had a little stack of cards. I would shuffle them up right before we did the test, and then I would read them out, and my son would fill in those numbers, and then we would start the time, and he would see if he could get all of the answers within that time. One of the great things about this was it's not just fun, but he was always competing against himself. And so the focus was on improvement, and yet not trying to be better than anyone else, just trying to get better than he was the day before. Because we did parent-led, whenever I knew that my child understood a concept, I didn't need to spend any more time teaching or giving examples. I would just move on, or maybe teach him a little more about that particular skill, even something that wasn't in that day's lesson. I would just give him a little more to take him a little further. But whenever we were in 8th grade with my older son, we switched to online math. I wanted to prepare him for high school, and I knew he would have Mr. Harmon in 8th grade as well as in 9th grade. And so I wanted to give him that opportunity to transition and to get used to a different teaching style. But that meant that I could not shorten those lessons. Now, my son did speed up the video speed. I don't let him do it too fast because I don't want his brain operating at that speed all the time, but he does speed it up a little bit, and so that can shorten your video lesson. But then I asked Mr. Harmon this year about how can we handle that? If he's getting the concepts, is he going to miss anything if he doesn't listen to the whole video? Mr. Harmon said that if he understands the example that's given, and he doesn't need any further explanation, doesn't need help in solving the problem, just skip the video. That has been a huge time saver. So my son will check, he reads the content, he reads the lesson in his student book, and then if he knows how to do that kind of a problem, he will just go straight to his assignment. If while he's doing his assignment he realizes there's something he didn't quite get, then he'll just go back to the video lesson and find that section and just watch that part of the video. So that's been a way that he can customize even though he's doing video courses. And then some days we do more than one lesson. There are different ways that you can do this. The first couple lessons of a chapter are going to be easier, and so they will be shorter and quicker. Sometimes if you want to combine, you can do one lesson from one chapter and then a lesson from the next chapter in the same day, but you need to be careful when you do that because lessons do build on each other, so you need to make sure that there aren't any skills in the current chapter that your child needs to learn before they go to the next chapter. I don't always like to do several lessons in the same chapter in one day, because especially if it's a new concept. If you have a new concept, then you want your child to have several days in a row of that same concept so that they remember it longer, so that it makes those connections in their brains that last longer. So you want to have several days in a row of a new concept. You also don't want to combine days that are like long division or something that is going to be tedious. You don't want to double up those lessons because they will just be discouraging. In fact, whenever you get to those lessons, you might want to just give your child maybe just the evens or maybe just the front half or something of the paper. Sometimes I would tell my son, if he did the front half and he got them all correct, then he wouldn't have to do the back. Or maybe if he missed one on the front, then we would replace it the next day with one on the back that he could use just to reinforce that skill. I didn't always do that in elementary school, partly because I do want my kids to build those disciplined habits. I want them to know how to work hard. And in elementary school and math, if they're doing well, it's not that hard usually anyways to complete the whole page. So I save those evens and odds kind of days for those either the material is harder or my child is just having a really hard day. If your child does really well with the regular workbook pages, then you may want to consider giving your child some more challenging pages, and BJU Press Homeschool has those built in for you. If you look in your teacher's edition at the back, there may be a CD-ROM. Some of the books don't have a CD-ROM anymore. They're moving things online, so you could look at the parent resources online. If it's in the CD-ROM, then it's going to be called Enrichment Pages. If you look online, they will be called Application Pages. And so what you can do is check and make sure your child understands the lesson for the day. Try to give him some of each kind of problem so that you're making sure that he has all of those skills. And then instead of finishing the regular work, give him one of these pages instead. These are from our Math 6. This one is a factor search. So if the regular lesson was about multiplication, this is a puzzle that they can do about multiplication. They need to circle factors that make the number 24. So we've got a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 3 all in a row here that make 24. They will see how many combinations they can find. This one has clues that you need to use to identify which one of these numbers is the mystery number. This one gives you a list of numbers and a target number, and your child will fill in the different operations that are necessary to make these numbers total that target number. Here is a page of mental math practice. They teach you how to do it and then give them practice in doing it. This one is more like geometry. So your child would be seeing how many configurations of 5 blocks he can draw on this grid. And there should be 12 different combinations. So he sees if he can find them all, and then at the bottom it challenges him to cut them out and see if he can make a perfect rectangle with them. And then this one is just an example of how it can be fun for your kids. It tells them that there was a man who had hiccups for 69 years. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records. And your child will use a calculator to try to figure out how many times he hiccuped in 69 years. So there are things to help your children just go a little bit further. Give them a challenge. Often it is something really fun, something that sparks their interests. So these pages are there for your elementary student. When your child gets to 7th grade, that's probably a good time to let him start to use a calculator for his daily homework. Unless the point of the problem is to show that you know how to do calculations. So using a calculator for that homework will speed things up. It will also allow him to focus on the new concept, the new math idea or skill, without focusing on the division or multiplication or other operations that are being done. Mr. Harmon and Mr. Metasevic also told me that starting in junior high, the books have parts A, B, and C for homework. So if your child is doing really well in understanding things, have him do a couple of the A problems. Spend most of the time in the B problems, which the teachers usually assign evens or odds anyways. They don't assign the whole thing. And then if it's still really easy, have him try the C exercises. These are a little bit harder. They would be more like the enrichment or application, just something a little bit more challenging for your child. Now, if your child does really well, Mr. Harmon strongly discourages you from skipping a grade. Math builds on itself. And so if your child does well, let him do 2 years in one rather than skipping a grade. Go quickly. Make sure you hit everything along the way. You don't have to do all the problems in every lesson. Just make sure you hit them all so that you are making sure you don't have any weakness as you go higher. I have a few more ideas for you for helping your child excel in math. Play games, especially dice games, that will really help your child to learn his facts easily and well, and he won't even realize because he's playing. You can use Facebook when you're graphing. You can survey friends and family, maybe ask what kind of pets they have, and then graph the results, and that's fun for everybody. Use manipulatives whenever you get a chance. Your math kit will come with paper manipulatives, but whenever you get a chance, use some physical manipulatives, some plastic ones. The paper ones work just fine, but we've really enjoyed picking up others at yard sales or different places, and as long as your kids aren't playing with them while you're trying to teach them, they work great. The Unifix cubes are wonderful. These are my favorite. I have a different brand, but they work the same way. 10 individual cubes will click together to make one 10. And so you can count 10, 20, and one more is 21. You can use these to add and subtract, multiply, divide, make patterns, do fractions. We've used them in upper elementary for probability and ratios. So Unifix cubes are well worth the purchase. And then if you can find any others, go ahead and pick them up. My husband brought home these base 10 blocks for me. So if ones and tens, hundreds, and even thousands, these have helped our boys understand place value and decimals. I have a separate decimal kit here, and it can help your child understand fractions as well as decimals. We have For geometry, different pattern blocks, different shapes, so they can do a variety of activities with those. I've used Uno cards a lot in math class. One of our favorite things to do at the beginning of the year when we're going over number sense and place value is to play war with Uno cards, and I can put a link to the source for this down below the video. But let's say that you're playing with your child and your child gets a 3 and you pull up a 9, so you have the bigger card. Well, just wait until we add 10s to it. Now your child has 83 and you have 59. Now your child has the larger number. And then let's add another card and do hundreds. So now your child has 783 and you have 859. Now your number is bigger again. So you can do this. We've done it in the millions, and it's just fun to see who gets the bigger number. Then whoever does have the bigger number takes all the cards. And another thing you can do with this is take this number 859 and see what is the largest number you can make out of it. And so they will understand that they want to put the largest number in the largest column and make 985, or maybe switch it around and make the smallest number that you can using those cards. So we've used Uno cards a lot. We've even used styrofoam cups in math. Whenever we do place value and expanded notation, you can take 876, I've got it written on the rims, and you can show how that's 800 plus 70 plus 6, and it just really helps your kids to understand these concepts more deeply. When you do teach your child, ask your child to explain how to do the math to you. Don't let him just say, well, you just do this and then demonstrate. Ask him to use math words to explain it to you. Now, the reason I say that is because you don't really know something well until you can explain it to someone else. And forcing your child to learn the correct math terminology will really help him to understand what he's doing. So maybe even allow your child to help a younger sibling or to tutor someone in math if they're doing well. That will help sharpen your child's skills as well. One last thought. Math is not just textbooks and worksheets. Worksheets are just practice for real life. So if your child is getting done quickly with math each day, that is great. Use that time to use those skills in the real world. Find things that interest him. It might be cooking or baking or building things, building a tree house maybe. It might be learning a musical instrument or having a yard sale or mowing lawns or starting some kind of a business. Teach your child the things that he needs in the real world and how he can use those things he learns in school in real life. Teach him to save money and work hard to earn money and to spend it wisely and to give generously to others. So there are so many ways that you can use your math skills in real life. Find something that sparks an interest in your child and let him do some things other than just textbook work. Let him do some real world work. I thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you'd like to chat, I would love to talk to you. Thanks for watching.